they're in view, they will not come close enough to touch you.
Most flexible ankles in the world.
Hot diggity dang, if Mario isn't a prime candidate close enough to touch you. They just stay being too far away and are happy that way. And that's the rhyme for the day. Let's start from maybe it's best if we just start from the beginning. What happened the most is that we start from the very beginning. Y'all need to relax and let's just try to start at the very beginning.
Y'all need to relax and let's just try to start at the very beginning.
Mario? Are you okay? I think you were having a bad dream or something.
Mamma mia!
Could it be true that it was all just a dream? Is there still time to vacation with my lovely princess? Attention all passengers, in a few minutes we'll be making our final departure from Isle Delfino. So please buckle up and prepare for liftoff. Hello you beautiful people and welcome back to Glitch Vault, and welcome also to the finale of the Mario Sunshine series. It has been a wild ride and here we are finishing up our journey with a generous handful of different tricks, so please join me on the last leg of this amazing trip. So to start off with a simple anomaly, head to Pinna Park, grab a fruit, and make your way to the merry-go-round. Drop the fruit into one of these strange eggs with a raspberry donut inside them and watch the fruit roll around. Now what's most likely happening here is that the fruit in this game have applied physics that tell them to roll as they change their horizontal position. So instead of being allowed to be carried by the merry-go-round, they're simply too stubborn and must earn their distance themselves. And I for one commend them for their effort. Speaking of effort, Mario has the most flexible ankles in the world. Maybe the universe. But moving on, there are a couple weird happenings involving Electro Koopas that come across as very strange. Number one, if they're in view, they will not come close enough to touch you. They just stay being too far away and are happy that way. And that's the rhyme for the day, if I have something to say. Not sure where that came from, but these guys simply refuse to attack you. Like, bro, I don't know if you're getting this, but you're not reaching me with your shell. You might want to get a little bit closer.
This is not working out for you.
But the moment that they drop out of your view, they start advancing towards you enough to finally cause some damage. Maybe they just enjoy being looked at, I don't know, but this one's weird and low-key gives me the heebie-jeebies. And apparently Mario is just gonna nap this one off. But things are just beginning to get weird for our Zappy boy. Over on this side of the park, it's possible for this guy over here to lose his shell over the hill. Once this happens, spray him with some water and oh, I killed him. That was not supposed to happen. Spray him with some water, and without killing him, watch the confusing animations play out in front of you. That shell just pops on and off without any regard to its actual state. But this is not the first time we've encountered shocking enemies, if you can recall. There was even one spot where I kept spraying him and the electricity from his ghost shell kept popping up away from his body. Weird. But before I move on to the next glitch with this guy, I need to go over the basic concept of it first. So if you guys can recall from my first episode, Yoshi gets stuck when you spray and dismount at the same time. Now, the same thing happens when you swallow an enemy, and doing this to a winged stew yields some interesting results. First off, he freezes in mid-air, yet continues his flying animation, which is already a bit odd. Secondly, he can no longer damage Mario at all. Running into him no longer has any adverse effects on our hero. The reverse is also true, you cannot kill him. And last but not least, he seems to disappear quite often. So with this interesting information in mind, let's try this on our electric friend. So go back to our spot inside the park, grab Yoshi, and perform this trick on the Electro Koopa. He gets stuck wherever he was on Yoshi's tongue animation when you dismounted, and things are a little different this time around. He himself cannot damage you in this state, but he's still able to throw his shell, which retains its normal properties. Which is really rude. Now, changing the timing of the dismount, you can get this guy frozen way up in the air. He can still throw a shell, so he's still dangerous, but it looks really interesting. Now, messing around with this glitch, at some point I managed to make his shell really tiny. So two things I don't know is one, how I managed to make it that small, and two, what causes his shell path to get so broken. But this one is fun and easy to perform and really scratched that glitch itch for me. Now, the fact that he's a ghost but can still damage you with his shell makes this conundrum very clear. He's not from the Mario universe, but a different one entirely. But enough contrived referencing. If you bounce a fruit into a surface, normally it bounces right off. But for some reason, trees don't follow this rule. Drop a fruit into a tree and it effectively disappears. Now to retrieve it, you just need to go back and press B, but it's a neat little trick to play around with. Over at Rico Harbor, there are ways to cheese up the blooper surfing safari mission. Normally, you have to ride a blooper around the entire course, but there are ways around that. The easier method is to ride a blooper up to this point, jump over, cut left instead of right, ride all the way to this middle piece and jump, squeak across slowly but surely, then once you get back into the water, finish off the rest of the race. It's a little trickier than it looks, but it cuts off a significant chunk of the track. Grab your shine sprite and meet me back here for the crazier version of this trick. You ready yet? Excellent. Instead of grabbing a blooper this time, jump up onto this left wall. It's a little strange since it's not designed to be vaulted over, but it's not too tough either. From here, you're gonna get yourself belly sliding and this will trigger the timer. Now head straight to that same spot that we tagged in the last version of this trick. And as soon as you hit it, turn around. Once you do that, start heading to this specific spot on top of the wall across the track. Both of these spots are super touchy, so be careful. Now all you have to do is book it to the finish line and you're good to go. If you've done this all correctly, you'll successfully finish the race without touching a single bloop. Mario don't need no bloop. My time for this one was pretty dismal, but I had fun practicing this one a bunch. Definitely the most difficult trick so far. So why does this work? If you've seen any of my Mario Kart episodes, Nintendo makes sure you're completing a lap by checking different spots throughout the course. So by hitting these two specific points, you're tricking the game into thinking you're playing the game as you should, while you and I both know that isn't the case. See friends, knowledge is power. Moving on to Gelato Beach, there are these trees that can form when you spray the ground. Now, if you use the turbo nozzle to burst away from the tree as it grows, it becomes significantly smaller. Which is weird because it acts like it's still a big tree when you try to climb it. And speaking of climate, I really wish I was on a tropical island right about now. You can break a Cheep Cheep by floating right about here and letting it catch you. For some reason, this spot specifically causes the Cheep Cheep to lose its mind and get stuck on the inside of this little pool. It just sort of soft locks itself, making you completely immune to anything it could do to you before. It doesn't leave this spot, it's just kind of here forever, I guess. Alright then. Something fun you can do is let the Cheep Cheep snag you by this heart-shaped rock, then swim into it. This rock is completely open to swim through, but once you do this, the Cheep Cheep starts freaking out. It will literally just wiggle in place indefinitely until you decide to leave the immaterial boulder. Then it's back to business as usual. Weird. Over in Pianta Village, the opening bridge is pretty strange. No matter how much you spray it, it doesn't seem to ever get wet. Which could only mean one thing. It's made out of ShamWow. But if you do manage to slide on your stomach with water, which is very difficult, you will shoot through the bridge and plummet to your death. Ugh, classic ShamWow. This works both directions on the bridge, so there is no safety, only despair. So just keep that in mind. But by this tree, there's a cool little clip that'll get you underground. This involves sliding into the lower right corner of this bigger green part of the base. Now, sometimes this gets you hopelessly stuck in one spot, causing some shenanigans to occur. Oh no, not again. Once you get far enough in, hover to the right and drop, and voila, you're underground. Make sure you jump around as you move or else you'll die immediately. But other than that, there's not a whole lot to do here other than go explore, which admittedly is pretty fun. One little trick you can do is get to this pool of water and walk under it, which gives Mario's Walk some cool properties. And I'm not even talking about Monopoly, folks. For this next one, you have to flood Delfino Plaza, which involves getting very far in the game before beating the last boss, which also means, gosh dang it, Nintendo, why can Shadow Mario swim in water? Ah! Anyway, you have to get pretty far in the game without beating it, which means I forced Trenton to get me to this part of the game. And he was very grateful for the opportunity. Hey Trenton, how's it going, bud?
You know how it's going, bud.
Oh gosh, okay.
Yeah.
So as you can see, it went swimmingly. So what you're supposed to do is chase this little punk into Corona Mountain. But what we're gonna do instead is explore what seems to be an old version of the Delfino Plaza map. And there are a few reasons why this belief is held by the Mario Sunshine community. First off, get under this log and jump up into it, and in no time you should be walking underwater. not entirely sure why this works as well as it does, but my goodness, it has to be the easiest way to walk underwater in the entire game. Now, a few things to note, the manhole covers are not active, which isn't really a surprise since the entire level is underwater, but you'd think that walking under here, they would at least show their animation. In the jail cell, there is a blue coin and a fake manhole cover, and one of these spray shine things in the wrong spot that grants a coin. Also, there seems to be a pretty brutal messed up texture only in this version of the town. But I don't know what to tell you guys, there are so many glitches in this game that I haven't even been able to cover in 3 episodes. So maybe, just maybe, I'll throw in an extra mini episode to close out this saga for good. But in the meantime, I love you guys, you're all amazing, and I can't wait to catch you guys on the next Glitch Vault. I mean, how else are you gonna find out how crazy Mario is?
What is that space chicken up to?
I can fly! I can fly! Look out, man, look out! I can fly! Wait, we can't, I don't know if we can shoot!
Oh, jeez, the UFOs!